You travel back to December 6, 1941 Pearl Harbor and become Ensign Jack Reynolds of VF-6 Squadron. Gripping the joystick of an F4F-3 Wildcat fighter, you are caught between the illusion of peace and the Imperial Japanese Navy's deadly ambush. Every choice you make is tightly bound to the outcome of the impending catastrophe. Morning sun filters through coconut groves, casting warm glows over the runways of Ford Island Naval Air Station. You squat beside the fighter, fingers tracing the cold metal coating of the wing, lost in thought. The 12.7mm machine gun ammo bays under the wings are half-closed, a normal sight on the base. The illusion of peace hangs like a thin veil, quietly lulling everyone's vigilance to sleep. At 25 you switched from civil aviation to naval aviation a year ago, filled with an unshakable sense of unease. Once you soared above Ohio farmlands. Now you are stranded on a Pacific island. Daily monotonous drills only fuel the growing anxiety gnawing at your heart. Tommy Cole's voice rings out from behind, urging you to join the formation training. He claps your shoulder, his face splitting into his usual bright, easygoing grin. The same age as you, he is your best wingman and roommate, inseparable through thick and thin. The two of you endured brutal training together, staying up late, debating the Pacific War situation. He holds his flight helmet emblazoned with his signature grinning black cat. You stand up, take the helmet, and your gaze sweeps over the dense rows of warplanes lining the runway. Dozens of unprotected aircraft sit like lambs awaiting slaughter, defenseless and fragile. You lower your voice and ask Tommy if he finds the current situation strange. Intelligence on Japanese troop movements in Southeast Asia is murky, yet the base remains dangerously complacent. Tommy's smile fades. He glances around cautiously before whispering his own misgivings. He says the squadron leader claims the Japanese dare not provoke the U.S., dismissing all intelligence as baseless rumors. His words carry a tinge of wishful thinking, a sentiment shared by most on the base. You do not argue, but the knot of unease in your chest tightens further. Last week you suggested dispersing the aircraft, only to be shot down by the squadron leader. He reprimanded you for spreading panic, ordering you to focus on training and nothing else. Since then you have paid extra attention to the airspace during drills, secretly practicing emergency evasion maneuvers. You can feel it. A silent storm is brewing on the horizon. Formation training begins and you pilot the Wildcat into the sky. Wings skim over Pearl Harbor's crystal blue waters, a scene of serene tranquility. Below, warships are docked in neat rows. The USS Arizona billows with faint white smoke. Sailors stroll leisurely on the decks, utterly oblivious to the impending danger. You follow the formation through dives, climbs, and dogfight maneuvers, familiarizing yourself with the fighter's handling. The Wildcat is heavy with armor and firepower, but its maneuverability pales in comparison to the Zero. You know the Zero specifications by heart, fearing the inevitable disadvantage in future dogfights. After training ends, you and Tommy head back to your shared cottage near the base. The small house is sparsely furnished. The walls are adorned with your 2 flight licenses. There is also an Ohio map marked with your hometown farm. Tommy polishes his flight boots and invites you to the base's evening dance. He mentions Nurse Evelyn will be there, his tone teasing and playful. You met Evelyn last month when you injured your arm and visited the infirmary. Love quickly blossomed between you. With her blonde hair and sea-blue eyes, she is gentle yet brave beyond measure. You once promised her that after the war you would take her back to Ohio and fill the fields with sunflowers. The thought of Evelyn chases away some of the gloom in your heart, and you nod in agreement. In the evening you receive a letter from your mother back home. She urges you to stay safe, praying for your return day and night. The letter mentions a neighbor's boy who enlisted and was sent to Europe. His family waits anxiously for his homecoming. Your fingers grow cold as you hold the letter. You pick up a pen to reply, hiding your unease behind reassuring words. You write that everything is fine and you will return home once the war is over. The early morning of December 6th is crisp and cold. You and Tommy arrive at the hangar early for the routine aircraft inspection. Your Wildcat is in good condition, but Tommy frowns as he checks the ammunition. He hands you a machine gun bullet pointing to the worn fuse and warning of potential risks. A jam or misfire in combat could have catastrophic consequences. You take the bullet and examine it closely. The metal scratches on the fuse are obvious and not an isolated case. Several nearby boxes of bullets show similar damage. You grab Tommy and head to the logistics office to report the issue. The ordnance chief listens to your report with an indifferent, dismissive attitude. He claims the wear does not affect training and that ammunition shortages take priority over such trivial concerns. Your voice rises with urgency as you argue, these bullets will get everyone killed in combat. The chief waves you away impatiently and turns to leave, leaving you filled with helpless frustration. On your way back to the hangar, anger boils inside you. You decide to go to the squadron leader to voice your concerns again. The squadron leader is reading documents. His face darkens with anger as he listens to you, accusing you of being overly sensitive. He scolds you for nitpicking over ammunition, spreading panic and undermining morale. You stand your ground, arguing that the Japanese movements are unknown and that the base must be fully prepared. The squadron leader slams his fist on the desk and roars, stating that High Command has ruled out the possibility of a Japanese provocation. He threatens to transfer you out of the squadron if you keep stirring up trouble. You salute reluctantly and exit the office. As you walk out of the building, you run into your friend Alan from the radar station. Alan looks haggard with bloodshot eyes and complains about frequent equipment malfunctions. He has reported the issues multiple times, but his superiors dismiss them as trivial complaints. Last night, the radar detected abnormal blips, yet no one bothered to investigate. Your heart sinks. You press him for details about the blips' direction and number. Alan says the blips were in the northern airspace, numerous and moving at high speed. His superiors attributed them to cloud interference or friendly aircraft, but Alan has a bad feeling about it. Your sense of unease peaks. You suspect the blips were Japanese fighter formations. You want to report the incident again, but you fear being transferred and losing the chance to issue a warning. You urge Alan to stay vigilant and inform you immediately if there are any new developments. In the afternoon, the base receives vague intelligence about unknown Japanese fleet movements. Airspace anomalies are reported in the Western Pacific, but High Command only issues a routine alert. The base remains mired in complacency. Only you stand as a lone sentinel waiting for the approaching catastrophe. The evening dance proceeds as scheduled. The officers' club is brightly lit with music drifting through the air. Officers, sailors, nurses, and local girls dance and laugh, the atmosphere lively and carefree. You and Tommy enter the club and your eyes immediately lock onto Evelyn in her white nurse's uniform. You step forward, extend your hand, and ask Evelyn for a dance. Evelyn nods with a smile, her soft hand carrying a faint scent of disinfectant. As you dance, Evelyn senses something is weighing on your mind and asks you gently what is wrong. Unwilling to worry her, you brush it off, claiming exhaustion from training. Evelyn leans her head on your shoulder, tenderly urging you to take good care of yourself. You tighten your grip on her hand, silently vowing to protect her and this land at all costs. Midway through the dance, you are overcome with restlessness. You excuse yourself to the restroom and slip out quietly. The base is silent in the night, broken only by the occasional footsteps of patrolling soldiers. You walk to the hangar. Moonlight shimmers on the fighter wings, casting a cold silvery glow. No one knows that this peaceful night has less than 10 hours of tranquility left. After returning from the club, you are wide awake. You sit by the cottage window, staring at the moonlight. Tommy is fast asleep, snoring loudly with a family photo, filled with warm smiles, resting on his pillow. You pick up your own family portrait. Your parents stand beside a sunflower field, their smiles warm and comforting. A wave of sadness washes over you, wondering how long this fragile peace will last. You put on your coat and step out of the cottage, walking slowly along the base perimeter wall. A patrolling soldier salutes you. You nod in response and continue on your way. When you reach the radar station, you see Alan still hard at work, a single light cutting through the darkness. You push the door open. Alan looks up in surprise, asking why you are still awake. You walk over to the radar screen and ask if there are any new abnormalities. Alan says the blips were identified as friendly aircraft returning, but he worries the equipment will fail when it matters most. You urge Alan to keep a close eye on the northern airspace throughout the night, ordering him to notify you immediately of any anomalies. Alan nods, firmly promising not to let his guard down. After leaving the radar station, you head to the empty runway to check on the fighters again. Dozens of warplanes stand in neat formation, silent giants silhouetted against the night sky. You inspect your Wildcat's cockpit, confirming that the joystick and instrument panel are in working order. You sit in the cockpit, gripping the joystick and practicing tactics until your wrists ache, then finally stand up and leave. You return to the cottage around 3 in the morning. Tommy is sound asleep, but you still cannot find any rest. Your mind races with thoughts of hidden dangers and fragmented intelligence, a premonition of war looming large. You pick up a pen and write your will, apologizing to your parents for possibly breaking your promise to return home. You pour out your love and gratitude to Evelyn, vowing to plant sunflowers with her in the next life. You hide the will under your pillow, kiss the family photo gently, and close your eyes, waiting for dawn. You finally drift off to sleep as the sky begins to lighten, dreaming of the sunflower fields on your Ohio farm. In your dream, explosions erupt suddenly. Flames devour everything, and your loved one's smiles vanish without a trace. You jolt awake in a cold sweat. The sky outside is pale, with the first light of dawn seemingly calm as ever. A deafening blast shakes the windows. You instantly realize your nightmare has become reality. At 7:55 a.m. on December 7th, 1941, thunder shatters Pearl Harbor's tranquility. You grab your flight suit and rush out the door. Thick smoke billows into the sky from the direction of Ford Island. Tommy is jolted awake. His face pales as he sees the smoke, wondering if it is just a drill. You grab him and sprint toward the hangar, one thought racing through your mind. The Japanese are attacking. Explosions ring out continuously along the way. The air is thick with the stench of gunpowder and fuel. Soldiers flee in chaos, screaming in terror, clutching their weapons but unsure of what to do. An American fighter plane takes off only to be shot down by Japanese fighters and crash into the sea. Dozens of Japanese warplanes roar past at low altitude, the rising sun emblems on their fuselages clearly visible. Japanese fighters bomb and strafe relentlessly, turning Pearl Harbor into a living hell. An oil depot is hit, erupting into a towering inferno. You and Tommy dive to the ground, narrowly escaping the flying shrapnel. Shrapnel slices your arm open, drawing blood, but you ignore the pain and keep running toward the hangar. The hangar is severely damaged, littered with debris. Mechanics lie motionless in pools of blood. You find your fighter planes. The Wildcats are slightly damaged, but their core systems remain intact. You shout and leap into the cockpit, strapping yourself in quickly and starting the engine. The radio is a cacophony of noise. The command system has completely collapsed, leaving no way to communicate. The runway is covered with debris and flames. You maneuver the fighter, carefully dodging obstacles as you taxi. Japanese torpedo bombers launch their payloads. You yank the joystick hard, narrowly evading the torpedoes. You clench your teeth and push the throttle to the max. The fighter breaks free from the ground and soars into the sky. The sky over Pearl Harbor is swarming with Japanese fighters, attacking American targets without mercy. The USS Arizona is hit and explodes in a ball of fire. Sailors jump into the sea, struggling and screaming for help. The USS Oklahoma is struck by torpedoes, capsizing rapidly and sinking into the ocean. Few American fighters manage to get airborne, and they are quickly surrounded and shot down by Zero fighters. Tommy's fighter takes off and joins you. He suggests forming a two-plane formation to counterattack. You form a wingman pair and charge bravely toward the Japanese fighters. Knowing the odds are stacked against you, you are determined to fight to the death for your comrades and your homeland. No sooner do you and Tommy charge forward than you encounter 3 Japanese Zero fighters. The Zeros are astonishingly maneuverable, twisting and turning in the sky like falcons. The sharp howl of their wings cutting through the air sends a chill down your spine. The first wave of strafing fire hits. Bullets tear through your wing, leaving a trail of dense bullet holes. Aluminum shavings spray onto the cockpit glass, stinging your face as they land. Tommy's voice crackles over the radio. "Watch out! Enemy fighter on your left." You yank the joystick hard, pulling the fighter upward to evade the strafing fire from the left. You push the throttle forward, attempting to circle behind the Zero, searching for the perfect counterattack opportunity. The Zero is far too agile. It spins away before you can get a lock on it, circling around behind you. The fuselage shakes violently. You instantly realize you have been targeted by the enemy fighter. You perform a barrel roll, the fighter spinning wildly as you evade the enemy's fire. You flip the machine gun safety switch, aim at the Zero, and pull the trigger, but your shots graze its wing, missing the mark. Tommy flies over to cover you, firing his guns and forcing the pursuing Zero to break off its attack. You seize the opportunity to adjust your position, circling around to the blind spot behind another Zero. The enemy pilot is focused on attacking an American warship, completely unaware of your approach. You lock onto the target and squeeze the trigger. 12.7mm machine gun bullets rain down relentlessly. The bullets hit the Zero's engine precisely. Black smoke billows out and the fighter loses power immediately. The enemy plane plunges toward the sea like a falling kite engulfed in black smoke. It crashes into Pearl Harbor's waters with a huge splash. A massive spray erupts from the sea, swallowing the fighter whole. Tommy cheers excitedly over the radio, praising your shot. The radio suddenly erupts with Tommy's scream, "Jack, I'm being tailed." Your heart skips a beat. You glance over and see two Zeros converging on Tommy's fighter, trapping it in a crossfire. Tommy performs a barrel roll to evade, but he cannot shake off the high-speed enemy fighters. You charge forward, firing your guns to draw their fire, but another Zero sneaks up and attacks Tommy. Cannon fire hits the right wing of Tommy's fighter. The wing snaps off and the plane spirals out of control, plummeting downward. You scream his name, desperate to go to his aid, but the first Zero latches onto your tail, pinning you down. Tommy ejects from the cockpit. A parachute blooms above him, drifting slowly downward. A Zero dives toward him, strafing relentlessly. Bullets tear through the parachute fabric and hit Tommy's body. Tommy's body jerks violently. The parachute collapses and he falls into the raging inferno below. Grief and rage burn in your chest. Your eyes turn blood red and you lose control of your emotions. You push the throttle to the limit. The fighter surges forward like a wounded beast, charging straight at the Zero that killed Tommy. The enemy pilot tries to evade, but you lock onto him tightly, refusing to let him escape. You squeeze the trigger repeatedly, bullets hammering the Zero's fuselage and cockpit relentlessly. The Zero bursts into black smoke and begins to fall. You keep firing until your machine guns run completely out of ammo. Another Zero circles around behind you and locks on. Danger creeps up silently. You dive sharply to avoid the attack, your wing nearly colliding with other Japanese fighters. You adjust your position and scan the sky. Only 3 American fighters remain trapped and outnumbered. You join the makeshift formation, taking charge over the radio to stabilize the chaotic situation. The group forms a triangular formation, weaving through the smoke and gunfire. Drawing on your intimate knowledge of the airspace, you constantly warn your comrades of ambushes, guiding them through the chaos. You spot a formation of Nakajima B-5N torpedo bombers preparing to launch an attack on the USS Nevada. You order the formation to dive, concentrating fire on the lead torpedo bomber. The torpedo bomber, still carrying its payload, spins out of control and crashes into the sea, exploding on impact. Japanese fighters keep pouring into the sky while American planes are running low on fuel and ammunition. You know you cannot sustain this fight for much longer. You must find a way to break out and regroup for a counterattack. The fighter suddenly jolts violently. A pungent smell of gasoline fills the cockpit. The fuel warning light blares loudly, piercing the air. Another crisis has struck. You glance down at the instrument panel. The fuel gauge plummets rapidly, showing only 15% fuel remaining. Your heart sinks. You instantly realize the fuel tank has been hit by stray bullets. Damn it! You curse under your breath, quickly inspecting the fuselage. There is a clear bullet hole beneath the left wing. Fuel gushes out of the hole continuously. The crisis in the battle escalates once again. You inform the formation over the radio. My fuel tank is hit. I'm low on fuel and need to evacuate immediately. Continue the interception mission. Stay safe, comrades, you urge your fellow pilots. Ensign Reynolds, do you need us to cover your retreat? One of the pilots asks. No need. Focus on the mission, you reply, then maneuver the fighter to disengage. As you pull the fighter upward, the corner of your eye catches a Nakajima B-5N torpedo bomber flying at low altitude. The torpedo bomber is heading straight for the USS Nevada battleship, moving fast and dangerously. The USS Nevada has already been hit multiple times. Its hull is listing severely. Another torpedo strike will surely sink it. You clench your teeth, resolved to shoot down the torpedo bomber first before planning your escape. You pilot the fighter to approach the torpedo bomber stealthily from its rear flank, moving with extreme caution. The Japanese pilot is completely focused on locking onto his target, unaware of your approaching presence. You adjust your position, slowly centering the torpedo bomber perfectly in your gun sight. At a distance of 500 meters, you suddenly pull the trigger, unleashing a full burst of machine gun fire. The bullets hit the torpedo bomber's tail fin and bomb rack, causing it to lose balance instantly. The torpedo bomber, still carrying its unused torpedo, crashes into the sea out of control. The splash of water drenches your cockpit glass. After shooting down the enemy plane, your fuel level drops below 10%. The engine's power fades and the fuselage shakes violently. You make a decisive move, pulling the fighter upward and accelerating to disengage, daring not to linger in the battlefield for a second. You look down at Pearl Harbor. The harbor is a scene of utter devastation, with warships and downed planes burning fiercely, smoke billowing into the sky. Thick smoke shrouds the sky. The air is filled with the stench of gunpowder, fuel, and death. The main runway on Ford Island is covered with debris and burning fuel, making it impossible to land. You scan the area, quickly searching for any safe place to make an emergency landing. You lock onto a small civilian airport west of Pearl Harbor. The runway is short, but it remains undamaged for now. You steer the fighter toward the civilian airport, but the engine's power grows weaker and weaker. The fuselage shakes violently as you descend. The joystick becomes heavy and difficult to control. You grip the joystick tightly, your eyes fixed on the runway, silently repeating to yourself, "Stay steady. You must stay steady." As you approach the runway, you adjust your position and lower the landing gear slowly. The landing gear touches down, grinding over gravel. The fighter skids uncontrollably to one side. You slam on the brakes hard, trying to regain control, but it is no use. The fighter's wing slams into the airport fence, producing a deafening sound of twisting metal. The cockpit airbag deploys, slamming into your chest hard and causing your vision to blur. Once the fighter comes to a stop, you struggle to unbuckle your seatbelt, push open the cockpit canopy, and climb out. Your forehead is cut by glass, bleeding profusely. Your left arm is sprained, and every movement sends a sharp pain shooting through it. You lean against the wreckage of the Wildcat, gasping for breath, staring blankly at the totaled fighter. The roar of air combat, the sound of exploding bombs, and Tommy's final scream echo endlessly in your ears. Sunlight breaks through the thick smoke and falls on you, but you feel no warmth at all. You think of Tommy's smile and the days you spent training together and debating the war situation side by side. Tears mix with blood, sliding down your cheeks and blurring your vision, overwhelming you with grief. Explosions continue to ring out in the distance. Japanese fighters still rage unchecked over Pearl Harbor. You know this is no time for grief. Comrades are waiting to be rescued, and there is still work to be done. You wipe away your tears, clench your teeth, and stagger toward Ford Island base, enduring the intense pain. Every step is a struggle, but your eyes burn with unwavering resolve. You are determined to survive and take revenge. The distance from the civilian airport to Ford Island base is only a few kilometers, but the journey feels endless. The road is littered with the wreckage of fighter planes, shrapnel, and bodies. Pools of burning fuel form walls of fire. Wounded soldiers lie on the ground, screaming in agony. Severed limbs and broken bodies are everywhere, filled with fear and despair. You see a soldier trapped under a pile of debris, his legs pinned tightly, unable to move. You rush over immediately and try to move the debris, but you can only shift it slightly, even with all your strength. "Hold on. I'm coming to save you," you shout, searching frantically for any tools you can use. You pick up a broken steel pipe nearby, trying to pry open the debris to widen the gap. The soldier's legs are covered in blood and mangled. He trembles violently but forces himself not to scream in pain. Just a little more. We're almost there. You encourage him, gritting your teeth and straining against the debris. Once the gap is wide enough, you carefully pull the soldier out and help him sit up on the ground. "Thank you, Ensign," the soldier whispers weakly, his eyes filled with gratitude. You tear a piece of your flight suit and use it to bandage his wounds. "Don't talk. Save your strength." Medical personnel arrive with a stretcher and quickly carry the soldier to a temporary aid station. A nurse asks if you are injured and need treatment. You shake your head and refuse, focusing all your attention on the rescue efforts. You continue forward, rescuing several more wounded soldiers and helping to transfer them to the aid station. When you reach the base gate, you see Evelyn busily bandaging the wounded, her face covered in dust and blood. You shout her name and run toward her. She rushes over and touches the wound on your forehead gently. "Jack, you're hurt. How are you? Are you okay?" Her voice trembles with worry. You take her hand and comfort her. "I'm fine. It's just a scratch. Are you all right?" Evelyn sighs, looking exhausted. "There are too many wounded and not enough supplies. The hospital is completely overwhelmed." Your heart aches for her situation, but there is nothing you can do to change it. You can only urge her to hold on. After saying goodbye to Evelyn, you walk into the base command building, half of which has collapsed from the bombing. In the second-floor office, you find the squadron leader, his arm injured, directing the rescue work. You salute the squadron leader. He looks tired as he asks about the situation in the air and your condition. You report the details of the air battle, Tommy's sacrifice, and your emergency landing experience, truthfully holding nothing back. The squadron leader's face darkens with grief. He falls silent for a long time, saying he will never forget Tommy's sacrifice. "Sir, I request to join the ground defense and search and rescue mission." You volunteer eagerly. The squadron leader hands you a rifle and orders you to lead a team to salvage supplies from the bombed ammunition depot. You take the rifle, salute, select 2 soldiers, and head toward the damaged ammunition depot. The ammunition depot is more than half destroyed. Debris and ammo boxes are scattered at the entrance, and the interior is pitch black, filled with gunpowder smoke. You warn the soldiers to watch their step for debris and unexploded ordnance, then take the lead and walk into the ammunition depot. The 3 of you divide the work, carrying intact ammo boxes outside and sorting through the usable ammunition. A Japanese reconnaissance plane flies over at low altitude, seemingly scouting the ammunition depot. "Take cover," you shout, pulling the soldiers behind a pile of debris to avoid detection. The reconnaissance plane circles around, preparing to dive and strafe. You raise your rifle and aim at the cockpit. Your bullets hit the reconnaissance plane's glass. The Japanese pilot panics and pulls the plane upward in a hurry, fleeing the area. The soldiers pat their chests, still shaken by the close call. You urge everyone to speed up the process of sorting supplies. The 3 of you load the supplies onto a truck and drive to the ground anti-aircraft battery position. The roar of fighter planes in the sky grows louder and denser. The second Japanese attack wave is approaching. You grip your rifle tightly, your eyes firm, ready to face the new round of battle. You know the war will be long and brutal, but you swear to fight to the end for your comrades and your homeland. At exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, the second Japanese attack wave arrives over Pearl Harbor as expected. Dozens of warplanes form a formation, descending like a dark cloud, roaring loudly as they dive toward their targets. You and the soldiers have just delivered the ammunition when you are engulfed by the dense roar of fighter planes. The anti-aircraft unit quickly sets up their artillery pieces, loads the ammunition, and aims at the incoming enemy planes. "Hurry up and help load the ammo," the anti-aircraft squad leader shouts urgently. The situation is critical. You set down the supplies, grab a shell, and help with the loading, ignoring the dull pain in your left arm. The anti-aircraft guns roar continuously. Shells explode in the sky, creating clusters of black smoke. Japanese fighters weave nimbly through the anti-aircraft fire, diving to drop bombs and causing heavy casualties. A bomb lands, swallowing several soldiers in its blast. An anti-aircraft gun is reduced to a pile of twisted wreckage. Grief pierces your heart, but you move faster. Only by loading the ammunition more quickly can you counter the enemy's attack. The squad leader directs the guns to target the dive bombers. Those are our main threat. You spot several enemy planes diving toward the temporary aid station. The wounded have no way to evacuate. You shout in desperation, raising your rifle and firing, but the bullets fall short. Your rifle's range is not enough to reach the planes. In this critical moment, a group of surviving American bombers emerges from the clouds, intercepting the enemy planes. They are SBD dauntless dive bombers, abandoning their bombing mission to protect the aid station instead. After a fierce dogfight, the American bombers shoot down 2 enemy planes. The remaining Japanese forces are forced to change targets. You let out a sigh of relief, then turn back to help the anti-aircraft unit load more ammunition. You notice that the American fighters lack unified command, fighting independently and vulnerable to ambushes. You ask the squad leader for permission. I'm familiar with aerial tactics. Let me command the fighter planes. The squad leader agrees and quickly connects you to the radio, granting you command authority. You shout orders into the walkie-talkie. Form a triangular formation. Prioritize intercepting the dive bombers. American fighters respond one after another, adjusting their formations according to your instructions, no longer fighting scattered and alone. You stand on high ground, keeping a close eye on the battle situation, continuously relaying ambush warnings over the radio. Under your command, the American forces coordinate seamlessly, successfully shooting down a surprise enemy plane. The flames of war rage on. The wreckage of fighter planes, thick smoke, and all kinds of noises blend together into a scene of hell on earth. Your throat is hoarse and the wound on your arm splits open again, bleeding profusely, but you remain focused on commanding, refusing to let up. Seeing no chance of victory, the second Japanese attack wave pulls their fighters upward one by one and retreats from the battlefield. The American fighters, low on fuel and ammunition, can only watch as the Japanese planes fly away. After the battle, the anti-aircraft position is a scene of utter chaos. The soldiers are exhausted and filled with sorrow. You ask about the casualties. The squad leader admits that the unit has suffered heavy losses with only 5 fighter planes remaining. You fall silent, knowing that Pearl Harbor has suffered a devastating blow, and the war has only just begun. After the second Japanese attack wave retreats, Pearl Harbor falls into a temporary calm, but it is an oppressive, suffocating quiet. You and the surviving officers and soldiers work together to assess the damage, clear the rubble, and search for trapped comrades. You are assigned to the aircraft parking area, tasked with counting the destroyed fighter planes and rescuing any surviving pilots. The parking area has become a sea of fire. Fighter wreckage litters the ground and the stench of burning fuel fills the air. You and the soldiers weave through the debris, your hearts filled with anxiety with every piece of rubble you move. There's someone here. A soldier shouts. You rush over immediately to help with the rescue. You move the debris aside and find an unconscious pilot who is still breathing. You lift him onto a stretcher and send him to the hospital. During hours of rescue work, you find several survivors, but more often than not you discover the bodies of your fallen comrades. Some comrades still grip their joysticks, their expressions firm. Others were hit by shrapnel, their bodies already cold. Every time you see a body, your grief deepens. Tommy's smile flashes repeatedly in your mind. As you clear the wreckage of Tommy's fighter plane, you spot his black cat flight insignia. The insignia lies on the ground, covered in dust and blood. You bend down to pick it up, wiping it clean gently. Tears stream down your face once more. Tommy had worn this insignia every day since he enlisted, never taking it off. You clutch the insignia tightly, memories of your promises to Tommy flooding your mind clearly. Now Tommy is gone. Only this insignia remains, a silent witness to your friendship and the cruelty of war. The cleanup work concludes in the afternoon. Half of the base's fighter planes have been destroyed, with casualties and losses mounting heavily. Multiple battleships have been sunk or damaged. Pearl Harbor's naval power has been almost completely destroyed. You return to the temporary command post. The squadron leader is discussing defense and repair plans with other officers. The squadron leader praises your achievements in commanding the battle. You hand over Tommy's insignia, requesting it be kept properly. The squadron leader takes the insignia, his face grave, promising to place it in a memorial hall to honor all those who sacrificed their lives. After the meeting ends, the squadron leader orders you to go to the aid station to have your wounds treated and get some rest. You arrive at the aid station. Evelyn is busy changing dressings, exhausted, yet her eyes remain firm and resolute. Evelyn pulls your arm over to inspect it. Your wound has split open. Let me bandage it again for you. You sit quietly watching her bandage your arm, gently and skillfully whispering an apology for making her worry. Evelyn looks at you with heartfelt sympathy. I'm not worried. I just want you to come back safe. Tommy, your voice is hoarse as you tell her. He sacrificed himself. He covered me during the air battle. Tears roll down Evelyn's cheeks. She leans her head on your shoulder, whispering that he is a hero worthy of being remembered forever. You hold her tightly, drawing strength from her warmth. Love and friendship become your anchor amid the ruins. Night falls, shrouding Pearl Harbor in darkness. Scattered flames flicker, barely illuminating the devastated landscape of ruins. You and Evelyn sit beside the wreckage of a fighter plane, staring silently at the distant sea. The air is thick with the smell of gunpowder and fuel. The moans of the wounded drift over from time to time, piercing your heart. Evelyn chokes up, asking, "You promised to take me back to Ohio after the war to plant fields full of sunflowers. Do you remember?" You nod and squeeze her hand tightly, making a promise. "I remember. When the war ends, we'll go back. We'll never be apart again." Evelyn looks up at you, her eyes filled with confusion. "But when will this war ever end?" You gaze into her clear eyes, your heart equally filled with uncertainty, not knowing how long the war will last, or if you will survive it. But you know you cannot back down. You must fight to the end to keep the flame of hope alive for your fallen comrades. You say softly, "I don't know when the war will end, but we have to hold on. We can't let our comrades die in vain." You admit that at first you only fought to survive and return home. Now you fight for your comrades, your homeland, and her. A flicker of resolve flashes in Evelyn's eyes. She nods and says, "I know you're a hero. I'll wait for you to come back safely." You hold her tightly, vowing to survive, to take revenge, and to protect Evelyn and this land with your life. Late at night, Evelyn leaves to take care of the wounded. You sit alone beside the wreckage, taking out Tommy's flight insignia. Moonlight shines on the black cat pattern of the insignia, reflecting a faint yet unyielding glow. Tommy's smile and the memories of your time together flood your mind, filling you with overwhelming grief and anger. You stand up and walk to the runway, staring at the surviving fighter planes. The sorrow in your eyes fades, replaced by unwavering resolve. You know that now is the time to repair the fighter planes, quickly strengthen the defenses, and prepare for a possible Japanese counterattack. You decide to ask the squadron leader for permission to repair the aircraft the next day, summarizing combat experience to develop tactics against the Zero fighters. Footsteps echo in the distance. You turn around and see Alan walking over from the radar station, looking utterly exhausted. Alan walks up to you and asks, "Jack, you're still awake?" His voice is heavy with weariness. You reply softly, "I can't sleep. My mind is a mess. Everything that happened today is too much to bear." Alan nods in agreement, saying that the radar station's equipment has been completely destroyed, making it impossible to monitor Japanese fighter movements. You say this is a critical weakness. You will propose repairing the radar station as soon as possible the next day to strengthen intelligence monitoring. Alan nods in support. "Good. I'll cooperate fully. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." You sit down beside the runway and talk for a long time, about your hometowns, about the war, and about your shared dreams of a peaceful future. Knowing full well that the war will be long and brutal, neither of you shows any sign of backing down. Your resolve only grows stronger. You make a pact. As long as you have breath left in your bodies, you will fight to the end, driving the Japanese out of the Pacific once and for all. As dawn breaks, Alan goes back to rest. You remain seated by the runway, watching the eastern sky turn pale with the first light of morning. Sunlight breaks through the thick smoke and falls on you, bringing a faint yet precious warmth. You clench the insignia tightly. Confusion gives way to anger and a sense of duty, and you steel yourself ready to face the challenges ahead. The next morning you get up early. After washing up you head straight to find the squadron leader. The squadron leader is directing soldiers to clear the runway. He nods at you, signaling that he has something to discuss. You salute and report, requesting to participate in aircraft repairs and proposing to summarize combat experience to formulate new tactics. The squadron leader approves your request, immediately stating that the base is short of experienced personnel and assigning you a team of mechanics and pilots. You salute, solemnly thanking him, then lead 5 mechanics and 3 pilots to the hangar. The hangar is in a state of chaos with damaged fighter planes scattered everywhere. Everyone picks up their tools and starts inspecting the aircraft components at once. You work with the pilots to inspect the fighters, determine repair priorities, and develop a maintenance plan with the mechanics. A dull pain throbs in your left arm, but you ignore it completely, your mind focused solely on restoring the fighter's combat capability as quickly as possible. Parts and tools are in short supply. The team has to scavenge usable components from the wreckage of destroyed planes to carry out emergency repairs. You work day and night, surviving on hardtack and cold water, resting only briefly by leaning against the debris when exhaustion becomes too much. In the afternoon you gather the pilots, gathering around a makeshift map and parameter chart to analyze the reasons for the air battle defeat. You state solemnly that the Wildcat's poor maneuverability leaves it vulnerable to being entangled by Japanese Zero fighters. The pilots nod in agreement, admitting that the Zero is too powerful and that their lack of countermeasure experience put them at a severe disadvantage. You propose a formation tactic using the Wildcat's advantages in armor and firepower to engage each Zero, with 2 fighters concentrating fire to take it down. You point to the parameter chart, suggesting using the Wildcat's diving speed advantage to launch surprise attacks on the Zero's engine, then disengaging immediately after firing. A young pilot named Peter frowns, asking worriedly what to do if they get entangled by Zeros at low altitude, making it difficult to break away. You soften your tone, emphasizing the importance of wingman cover, and teach everyone to use horizontal deceleration tactics to counterattack and evade. You draw diagrams in the dirt with a branch, breaking down the tactics step by step. The confusion in the pilot's eyes gradually fades, replaced by focused determination. You add that the Zero's fuel tank has no armor protection. Prioritizing attacks on this area can greatly increase the chance of shooting it down. This set of tactics is derived from actual combat experience and parameter analysis, precisely compensating for the Wildcat's shortcomings. 2 hours later, the mechanic George hurries over to urge you. Only then do you end the tactical discussion meeting. George informs you that the engine of Wildcat number 27 will be repaired soon, but the landing gear hydraulic pipe is severely worn and damaged. You inspect the pipe and find it leaking. You order the team to search the wreckage of destroyed planes again to find parts that can be spliced together to fix it. Over the next 2 days, you lead the pilots in tactical drills while assisting with aircraft repairs. The hangar buzzes with activity day and night. At night, you organize tactical manuals and record repair progress by the dim light of a kerosene lamp. The wound on your left arm reopens repeatedly. You wrap it tightly with a bandage, gritting your teeth and enduring the pain to keep working. Evelyn visits you every day, bringing hot coffee or silently helping you organize tools and blueprints. In the evening, she looks at you with concern, her eyes filled with bloodshot fatigue, reaching out to smooth the messy hair on your forehead. You put down your wrench and take her hand, smiling apologetically and saying you'll rest once the work is done. All for your comrade's safety. Evelyn hands you a bar of chocolate from the Red Cross, whispering that she will always be by your side. The sweet taste of chocolate chases away your weariness. Her companionship is like a ray of light, sustaining you through the difficult days. On the morning of December 10th, the first repaired F4F-3 Wildcat's engine roars to life, the sound echoing through the hangar. The mechanics cheer loudly. The exhaustion of days of hard work melts away in that moment of triumph. You board the fighter, inspect the parameters, taxi around the runway, then take off smoothly, testing the responsiveness of all controls. Dives, climbs, and turns are executed flawlessly in the air. The fighter is in perfect condition, fully capable of combat. After landing, the squadron leader approaches you, handing you a telegram and informing you solemnly that the Pacific battlefield situation is critical. High Command issues an order for the first counterattack mission targeting a Japanese supply outpost west of Midway Atoll. You grip the telegram tightly, saluting immediately and volunteering for the mission, confident that your tactics and fully repaired fighters are up to the task. The squadron leader approves your request, assigning you 3 Wildcats and ordering you to destroy the fuel reserves and communication equipment. Sunlight streams through the broken roof of the hangar, illuminating your determined footsteps as you turn to gather your team and deploy the mission. Tommy's insignia is pinned inside your flight suit close to your chest, as if he is flying alongside you into battle. Evelyn hurries over, handing you an old cross-shaped good luck charm, hugging you tightly and urging you to return safely. You whisper in her ear, making a promise. When I come back, we'll start planning our sunflower fields in Ohio. 3 Wildcats take off one after another, soaring toward the rising sun. Their wings skim over Pearl Harbor's still smoldering waters. You remind your comrades over the radio to remember the tactics and cover each other, setting off to avenge the fallen. The formation flies toward Midway Atoll. The Pacific Ocean stretches out below, a vast expanse of deep blue with clouds looming like giant beasts in the distance. You grip the joystick tightly. The insignia against your chest feels warm, as if burning with resolve as you embark on the path of revenge and protection. An hour later, you reach the target airspace. Japanese supply ships are docked at the outpost, their defenses lax and unaware of the impending attack. You issue your orders. Peter circle around to draw their fire. Davis and I will dive to destroy the fuel tanks. Japanese anti-aircraft fire erupts suddenly. Peter leads his team in firing, successfully drawing the enemy's attention. You seize the opportunity to dive, aim at the largest fuel tank, and pull the trigger. Bullets hit the valve, triggering a massive fire. Davis destroys 2 communication towers, simultaneously knocking the Japanese communication system completely offline. 2 Japanese Zeros take off to launch a surprise attack. You order the formation to adjust into a triangular defensive formation. You and Peter pincer the Zero on the left, using your tactics to force it to fly past your nose, then lock onto its tail and open fire. The enemy plane is hit, belching black smoke as it crashes into the sea. The other Zero flees, only to be shot down accurately by Davis as it retreats. The mission is a complete success. The supply ships flee in panic, and you lead the formation back to Pearl Harbor. Peter cheers excitedly over the radio. You look out at the sea and whisper softly, "This is only the beginning." Sunlight shines on the fighter wings, reflecting a dazzling glow, carrying the hope of counterattack across the ocean. You know the war will be long and arduous, but only through unity and perseverance can you wait for the dawn of peace. The insignia against your chest feels warm. Tommy's smile seems to appear before your eyes as you fly toward Pearl Harbor and the ones you hold dear. When you return to the base, the entire camp erupts in celebration. This victory greatly boosts morale in the aftermath of the Pearl Harbor attack. The squadron leader greets you personally and awards you a medal, praising you for firing the first shot of the counterattack. Evelyn runs toward you filled with joy and hugs you tightly, her tears soaking your flight suit. That night by the campfire, you polish Tommy's insignia. Alan hands you a bottle of liquor, sighing with emotion at the sacrifices of your comrades. You say solemnly that the victory belongs to everyone, urging the team to speed up aircraft repairs and train new recruits to prepare for future battles. Alan informs you that the radar station is being repaired, with technical personnel already arriving. It will be operational again soon. The campfire illuminates the soldiers' tired yet determined faces. Seeds of hope quietly take root amid the ruins. In the following days, the base accelerates repairs and training. You take the initiative to teach your new tactics to the incoming pilots. Mechanics salvage parts from sunken ships to repair fighter planes, and simulated air battles steadily improve the pilot's tactical proficiency. On December 15th, the radar station is fully operational again, with clear blips appearing on the screen. You have finally regained the initiative. You urge Alan to keep a close eye on the northern airspace, remaining vigilant against possible Japanese surprise attacks, never letting your guard down. Orders come from High Command, deploying your squadron to Midway Atoll to build a defensive system. The pilots are filled with fighting spirit, volunteering eagerly for the mission. You do not hesitate to sign up, heading straight for the front lines. You place Tommy's insignia and your group photo in the memorial hall, vowing to fight in his stead and bring him home. You bid farewell to Evelyn at the base gate. She urges you to put safety first, saying she will wait for you forever. You hold her tightly and kiss her, promising to write and update her on the situation once the Midway defense stabilizes. On the morning of December 20th, you lead a formation of 10 Wildcats toward Midway Atoll. Pearl Harbor fades into the distance behind you. You know that Midway Atoll is a strategic stronghold, and you are fully prepared to face the next battle. Upon arrival, you immediately throw yourself into deployment work, conducting coordinated training with various units to build a three-dimensional defense network. A large-scale Japanese counteroffensive is brewing on the horizon. You will stand firm on the front lines with your comrades guarding the dawn of victory.